Good evening. It's the Fit Lawyer ATL, and we are live from New York City, baby. Came into town for the trial, well, for the sentencing. Put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Let me get everyone to hit the like button as you're coming into the room. And y'all, somebody put a one in the chat if you can hear me. Got my mic on. We'll make sure you can hear me. Okay. All right. Thank you for always, forever for life. Shout out one of my day ones and one of my mods. Thank you so much. Shanika Young is in the house. All right. Big baby. What does that say? Big baby CNC in the house. Shout out Nikki's news on narcissism. Funny. Might have saw a little narcissism today. All right. Linda Kelly says, hello, Fit Lawyer. Hello, thank you all for tuning in. Yes, so if you're just coming to the channel, my name is the Fit Lawyer ATL. I am a 20-year criminal defense attorney in Atlanta, Georgia, and I have my own practice, the Adams Firm, and I just wanted to see what was going to happen today. So I caught a flight. Actually, it started with me hiring a line sitter. So y'all come on into the room because we're going to get into all the tea today. We're going to get into that. I'm going to tell y'all everything. I'm just going to take you step by step as to like how it played out today in the courtroom because I was there for it all from the beginning. So come on into the room. Let's see who else we got coming in. Hello, Isabella, 203. Nini's in the house. Kia Elder 305. Hey, Kia. It's been a minute. Thank you for coming in. Other people's dramas in the house. Sweet Lady Let's Eat is in the house. Yes, y'all come on into the room. We got 41 in the chat. If you're just coming in, hit the like button. We're going to long stroke this thing. And if you all know anything about long stroking, my mentor on YouTube is the lead attorney. And we're going to do it like that tonight. So don't y'all come in here rushing me. Y'all already know what the sentence is. So I'm going to take my time and take you through my day at the Southern District of New York. Because I flew into town, so we're going to long stroke it, all right? So if you're coming in just to get some quick tea, I mean, I don't know what's quick. The sentence already been announced. We're going to take our time with this thing tonight, all right? Y'all told me y'all want me to long stroke it, right? So that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do tonight. So y'all come on in the room and get settled. Yes, great back on YT. Kia Elder said I was on your live earlier. I admire you all, sis. Thank you so much. This has just been so like, I'm so geeked to be up here because as an attorney, I'm all here for the legal stuff, right? So I can't tell you half the names of the people in the courtroom that aren't, like his kids and stuff. I don't care about none of that. I just really wanted to hear the legal arguments because I knew, as I said on my live last night, as I said the day my live after he got sentenced, it really was going to come down to the leveling. And where the judge decided the leveling was, that was going to put us in a range. And once the judge kind of let us know the leveling early on, the writing was on the wall. It just really, the day played out for him to see if he's going to change his mind. But it was kind of clear to the courtroom that he came in with his mind already made up. So, yes. Yes. So Linda Kelly says I was on it fast to get a line sitter. Let me tell you. So I had the inside scoop. So I have a friend that came up to the trial. So she was up here not every day, but for a lot of the trial, which I don't see how. Because I have not been in a courtroom and sat in like the bench in a courtroom in a very long time. As a criminal defense attorney, babe, I'm in the jury box, I'm in the VIP seats, I'm in the cushion seat. Like my back, I need a massage. Hey, I could not have come to this trial every day for 8 weeks without getting paid. I'm sorry. My nosiness carried me 24 hours and I'm done. Now I got to get back to work and make some money. I admire all of those people that come in here and sit on those hard benches every day, all day to get y'all the tea. Y'all need to get them all the support because your girl could not do it. All right. Oh, for always, forever, for life says, I knew he had his mind made up already. Yeah, it gave that vibe. It gave because think about it. He didn't hear really too much new in the courtroom because all of the letters have already been submitted. All of the video had already been submitted yesterday. So he had already seen and heard a lot. He had got letters from the kids. Carisha wrote a letter. Like everybody named Mama wrote letters. So he pretty much had heard everything he needed to hear. Even the doctor who spoke from King Clergy in Florida and the Giovanni, who spoke from the reentry program, he had already heard from them. I mean, he had gotten detailed letters from them. Now, I will say, hearing from Giovanni did add something to his letters that letters didn't convey. So him speaking was good. But I mean, for the most part, he kind of already knew what he's going to do. And what was never public to us was the probation's pre-sentencing report. So the pre-sentencing report outlines which aggravating factors should apply to the leveling. And so it had a recommendation. So the recommendation from the probation was 5 years, 60 months. So that was already given August 20, I think it was like August 25th. And so he already had all of this coming into it. So today was, I'm coming in here, and let me see if you're going to change my mind. And honestly, I think his kids lining up and speaking was the most impactful. And I wouldn't be surprised if the judge came in with 5 and the kids speaking took it down to 4, because hearing from them and the impact and everything that they've suffered, and they're innocent in this, and so are the victims. But it was the most impactful thing to me out of the day. So I could see that being something that changed his mind. But he may have come in with the 4, but he definitely came in with his mind already made up. Forever for always, forever for life says, I don't think the character letters weighed too much on his decision. I've written several character letters before, and they didn't seem to matter that much. Surprisingly, I mean, they do, because they show that there is support. But as the judge said in Diddy's sentencing, yes, you have done all of these. What did my phone just do? Sorry about that. It's on a gimbal. It's on a gimbal and switched orientations. That was weird. But what the judge said, you've done all these great things for your community and for other people, and you've inspired them. But at the end of the day, you have also caused all this pain and turmoil to the victim. So while the letters may not seem like they did something, they definitely do, because it shows that the person has support. So don't stop writing character letters for people. But sometimes folks just do stuff bad enough that at the end of the day, you got to take the punishment. And so that pretty much was Diddy's case here, because as the public, and I say the public, well, I'll say as some people, a lot of men like to minimize the victimhood of Cassie and Jane in this situation. They very much were viewed as victims by the judge, and the judge considered Diddy's actions in harming them, in the physical violence, the emotional violence, a big deal. He called the evidence of the freak-offs and the evidence of the violence massive. Okay, y'all have heard the evidence, but the judge felt as if it was massive. And now you have to think about this. The judge is not a judge of his peer, right? So he's not someone who grew up, he's not Black, he's not someone who grew up in the hood, well, they didn't grow up in the hood really, because his mom moved to Mount Vernon once. Anyway, but just not from the urban lifestyle, right? So while some of this may not shock the conscience of a lot of people, it appears that it did for the judge and hearing it. And so he mentioned it a lot of times in the sentencing, seeing the pictures, seeing the bruises, seeing the physical abuse, and just hearing about it, seeing the text messages, seeing the power and control he had over the victims. It really weighed on the judge, and that really played a big part into why he got time today, and why no matter what he said and what he plans to do in the future, he had to give some time before he can get out to do that. So I see some more people coming in the room. We need more women. We sure do. Like, already African Americans, women only make up 2% of the field. So we definitely need more women criminal attorneys. Miss Westmoreland was on the team, and I think his other female attorney's last name is Shapiro. So everyone was active in the courtroom today. So let me just take y'all. Okay, so let me just tell you. So I made the decision to come down here like last week. And so the first thing I did was book the flight. But then I contacted somebody, because I'm like, okay, what's the play-by-play? How do I get in the courtroom? Do I got to get in a line? And so she instantly told me, you're not getting in the courtroom unless you get a line sitter. Sorry, dead ass. You got to get a line sitter. Like, you're not getting into the courtroom unless somebody is in line for you overnight. It's that serious. Is that serious down here in the Southern District of New York City? I was like, a line sitter? Like, okay. So I talked to the guy and I hit him up. And so I'm like, all right, I need a line sitter. I'm going to show y'all the video. His name is KK, and I'm going to give you his information if anybody comes to New York and he's a line sitter for literally like anything. Sample sales from designers, iPhone coming out, play tickets. It's a whole business here. Okay. So this is my first time in New York. So I was not aware. So I hit KK up and I'm like, hey, I want to come down for the sentencing, but I want to be in the courtroom. You know, what do I need to do? And he's like, all right, well, I'm getting in line for a couple of people already at 4. I'm getting in line for one person at 2. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, he said, but you should be fine if I get in line at 4 p.m. We talking about 4 p.m. people, not 4 a.m. 4 p.m. Okay. 4 p.m. the day before the hearing. All right. So I'm like, all right, let me do that. So I book him for 4 p.m. until 6:30 in the morning. I have to come relieve him at 6:30 in the morning. All right. So I go to sleep at night and I have a dream that the person that was paying him at 2 p.m. got in and I was on the outside. And I was like, well, if he gonna already be there, shouldn't he just sit for me at 2 p.m. too? So I hit him back up. Hey, oh, thank you. Okay, so I promise y'all I'm gonna be back more. So I miss you all too. For always, forever for life says I really miss your spirit. I miss y'all too. So I was like, wait a minute. If you're gonna be down there for somebody too, let me be like up there too. So I was like, all right, bet. Put me in line for 2. So I had to pay him for 2 more hours, $25 an hour. All right. So as I'm headed in the Uber to the airport on Thursday at 12, like 25, he texts me and says, hey, I'm headed down because there are already 11 people in line. Mind you, this is 12:30 the day before. We're almost 24 hours advance. It's 11 people in line. I was like, okay. So you hurrying up, right? So he hurried up and got down there. He had a little deal worked out. He wasn't in spot to get me in the courtroom, but he paid somebody $100, which means I had to pay an extra $100. Anyway, got into the courtroom. All right, fast forward. So I had to check in today at 6:30 in the morning. I get down there. And so I don't know what the deal is going to be. So y'all know I want to go live, right? Because clearly court doesn't start at 10. So I come down there with like my little suitcase. I got my tripod. I got everything with me because I don't know what the setup is going to be. But when I get down there, so I trade places with him. And so are the other people that he's been sitting for. It's like 4 of us. So we take over, he leaves, and then basically the line starts inching up, I would say like around 7 a.m. So at 7 a.m., a media person for the courthouse comes out and she starts a list. And she starts a list of press people and then a list of public. And I don't know how many people get on the press side. I think they had like extra 3 rows today. And then on the public side, the first 17 will get into the courtroom. So that's why it was important to have a line sitter, because if you're not in that first 17, then you got to just camp out all day until court starts to see if you'll make it into an overflow room. Fit did not fly to New York to be in the overflow room. I'm like, I need to get in the courtroom. I want to see everything. I want to hear every breath. I want to see what the attorneys, I just want to be front and center. So I was good. Until the line started going in, y'all know some Negroes had to jump the line. Oh my God. It was like 3 people jumped the line, which we didn't realize until it was time to walk in. And when they started doing the count off, we got left out. So me and a guy named Sam in front of me, I think his name is Sam in front of me, he was livid. And I'm livid too, because we been paid hundreds of dollars for a line sitter for us to be left out because somebody jumped the line. So we out there, respectfully raising hell because one police plaza is 2 blocks up the way and we are at the courthouse. So I'm not trying to, go to jail, but at the same time, and see, the cops don't have anything to do with this because they're like, we don't know anything about line sitters. Y'all on the outside of the barricade. We're over here trying to man security to come into the courthouse. So, like, that's on y'all. So they weren't even trying to get involved. But we start calling people out. So one lady had great integrity. She stepped out, was like, yeah, I did jump. So she came out. But the guys wouldn't even look our way, so they wouldn't come out. But luckily, the media person came over, and after a lot of just like, oh, no, they jumped, she talked to somebody, and she said, I can add 5 more. So your girl made it in. So look at that favor, because I was like, oh, man, don't have me tell everybody I'm going to be inside, and you got me in the overflow room, you know what I'm saying? So Thank God it ended up working out. So yeah, Sell the Elm says line sitting seems to be a full-time job for some. It really is. So the day after I hired him, he mistakenly texted me the next day that morning, like at 6 o'clock, and was like, "Oh, you're first in line." And he was like, "Oh, my bad, wrong person." He was standing in line for someone at a sample sale at a designer. I don't even know the name of the designer, but she was having a sample sale with 70% off from 9 to 10:30. And so people hired him to stand in line for that. So it is a whole business. He is making his living, and he got his son and nephew working with him too. So it's a family business. But it's not just him. Like it was a whole line of tents, and they have line sitter. Like it's like you can buy your tent that says line sitter and has your number under for people to hire you. It's a whole profession. So if you need line sitters up here, I definitely was going off. Sorry, let me drink some water. I've been talking all day. Yeah, we was about to lose it. But I don't I can't show out like that. But my Caucasian friend that was in front of me was able to show out like that, so I just rolled with him. So I was like, hey, the white man get in, I'm with him. I'm getting in too. We can't show out like that all the time. But I was with Sam. So I'm like, Sam get in, I'm good too. Days of Our Lives says they say some Obama rule says if you over 50, you do have federal time. That's 2 hours instead of 4. Then there's credit for a drug class that gets off another year. Then there'll be like 1 year left. Is that true? Wow. I don't know. Let me take some notes and I'll look into it. I don't practice in federal court. I am licensed to practice, not licensed because not really licensed, but you have to apply and get admitted. So I have been admitted to the Northern District of Georgia, but I just haven't had a case before them. So I have no clue. So that's why it was really exciting for me to come to see how this whole federal sentencing process was going to work because I've never done one before. State court is very different. You literally get convicted and the judge sentences you in the next minute. It's not a whole pre-sentencing report. Sometimes you may get a week if it's that type of case, but no, usually it's really quick and it's not a whole what's your leveling. It's just pre-trial, what's the criminal history? He's already heard the facts of the case and then he sentences you. So it's not all of that in state court. So this was the first time. Okay, is that what it is? Somebody said that dirty New York air is something. Shout out JC. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. He says, what's the next case? I want to go to. Oh goodness. Like I ain't even finished debriefing from this one. I have no clue. Look, if you didn't, you must not been on when I first got on. Y'all got to pay Fit to go. Okay, Fit got 24 hours worth of nosiness. And that's it. I got to get back to making the money. So I can't sit there for days and days and days. Now, y'all can get me to stream a trial. But I got to get a press. I need to be in the VIP box. Like I need a cushion seat. I need to be where the attorney sit at. If I have to go to court every day. Look, 20 years of sitting in the cushion seat, my back is hurting today sitting out there in gym pop. I can't do it. Y'all got to pay Fit. Y'all got to pay me to sit in there every day. All right. So Cedar Elm says, oh, and I see the live, I think it's okay. So it's some trucks going by, look, I'm on the Wi-Fi, I'm in a hotel in New York. So forgive me if it skips or lags. Cedar Elm says if the judge gave him 8 years, what does it mean that the sentence could be overturned? Well, he didn't get 8 years. He only got 4 years. So he got 50 months, which is 4 years and 2 months to do. And then he gets credit for the year in 2 weeks he's already done. So then he has like 3 years and some change left. And I saw somebody else saying if you're over 50, the hours, don't give me the line on that part, but I'll check that part out. But for the most part, he should have 3 years to do. I know in federal, they don't do parole. So you don't just like say in Georgia, you have to do a third of your time and then you'll get paroled out. Doesn't work like that in federal court. You do have to do all of your time, but it gets cut by I do know if you do a drug class, it could take like 10 months off your sentence. So I don't know about the hours over 50, but he can cut his time. Is the sentence worth appealing? No, not in my eyes, but I'm sure he probably will just for the hell of it. We need to save that money and just put it on his books. Because the judge was very thorough. That's what I mean, this judge, and Diddy thanked him at the end. I mean, let me not mispronounce his name. Judge Subramanian was very fair. Like it was times where The government would cite to a case, try to cite to like a relevant case to make it aggravated for Diddy. And the judge would point out something that they didn't mention that made that case so different from Diddy's. Or and vice versa though. The defense would bring up a case that they would try to say Diddy's case is like this. And then judge would say, but didn't that person blah blah blah? Like he kept everybody fair. He explained himself. He overly explained how he got to the sentence and why. So he was very, very fair. So it was very, so I don't believe it will be overturned. But basically you can appeal, he can appeal his sentencing and see with the federal court, it's so many rules to the sentence. So you have the sentencing guideline, you have the leveling, you can downward deviate from the leveling. Then there's a part of the statute that says you have to consider everything that you heard about the character of the defendant and things that played into the charges, even if they were acquitted of other charges, you still have to consider the conduct if it can still prove the crime that they were convicted of. So it's a lot of little technicalities to a federal sentencing. So it could be overturned if the um, what is the Supreme Court feels like they overstepped and he didn't do some type of calculation right. But after sitting there listening all day, I don't know the ins and out of federal sentencing, but the judge over explained his decisions, his rationale. He gave case law to support everything he said. So I doubt the sentence would be overturned. Thanks, JC, for becoming a new member. Yes, for always Forever for Life says he could have gotten way worse. He definitely could have. And I almost thought the judge was going there, y'all, because as he started to give this sentence, he kept saying how Diddy's crime deserved a substantial punishment, a substantial sentence. He said the word substantial sentence like 10 times before he gave it. So I almost was like, are you going higher than 5? Because I really thought 5 should have been the max and would be the max. But yeah, the judge was very, very fair. For Always Forever for Life says this judge was very fair. I watched a lot of people try to say the judge was biased and didn't like Diddy, but I didn't see that. I didn't see that today either. Now he had a strong opinion about what he had a strong opinion about. And he did not like the violence. He did not like the coercion. He felt like Diddy definitely coerced the victims into the sex acts. He did not appreciate the Brian Steele reading the transcript of Cassie from the trial, trying to make it seem like she wanted it and she willingly participated. That did not go over well with him. But it didn't change the sentence because, trust, the judge came into the courtroom with his sentence ready. Why does it seem, Cedar Elm says, why does it seem so complicated, but somehow it seems like a regular person can get a more substantial sentence? It just depends on what you're comparing. So we're talking about federal court. So federal court has all of those rules and guidelines that you have to follow. So every federal sentencing goes through this. Like British from Love and Hip Hop LA, right? She got in trouble in federal court for doing PPP scams or whatever. So she had the same process. It just wasn't televised, but she went through the same thing. She had a conviction. She came home. Probation did a pre-sentencing report. They looked at everything about her character, everything about her life, and her sentencing was elevated because they found that she continued to do the crimes even after she had been arrested. Though that was something that elevated her sentencing. And then she came before the judge and she received her sentence. So everybody in federal court goes through the same type of sentencing. It's just not publicized like that because this is Diddy. Like all eyes were on his case, which is what Diddy was trying to tell the judge. Well, his attorneys were trying to say, look, he's been punished. Like a lot of people go through this privately, right? A lot of people are arrested. The only person that finds out is the person who bonded them out. Maybe the girlfriend, mama, baby mama, daddy, maybe close family, right? But sometimes they don't even tell their friends they got locked up. But in this case, Diddy, the whole world knows he's arrested. So they're like, he's been punished. Everybody knows that this happened. They've heard all the ins and outs, all the dirty things, the sex things. Like it's all out there, judge. He's been punished enough. Judge was like, nah, I need some time out that ass. You put your hands on folks, I need some time. That video, that Cassie beating in the hotel, the judge referenced that over and over. It was disturbing. It was disturbing. Yeah, Cedar Elm says the way the judge was talking, he thought the sentence would have been more. I did. Like, I thought maybe, is he gonna go higher than 5? Like, he definitely laid the government out for saying 11 years. He's like, that's just ridiculous. He said everything but the word ridiculous. He says the pre-sentencing report said 5 years. And yet you gave nothing more for me to consider. So, like, the aggravations that the government used to get to 11 years, they're the same aggravations that the pre-sentencing report used to get to 5. So he definitely let them know that 11 was ridiculous. So we knew it wasn't going to be that much. So I just thought maybe he was going to be definitely hitting 5, the way he kept saying substantial sentence, substantial sentence. All right, so let me go back to the beginning. All right, so come in the courtroom. First thing I notice is Janice blowing wig. Y'all know. I mean, it literally is the first thing I wrote on the paper. I don't know. I probably because I saw somebody talking about it. So anyway, it just stuck out. But everybody was dressed nice. I see white was the theme. Janice had on white. The twins had on white, sharp white suits with black lines down the side. Everybody was dressed nice. So the thing setup was that it was 3 rows of family. And so apparently, and y'all know how it is, right? You know how you go to a funeral, everybody be trying to jump in the family car, everybody want to sit up front with the family, right? You go to where everybody want to be at the family table. So it was too many people that wanted to be with the family. So it wasn't enough room for everyone because the whole point was the kids are going to sit on the same row. He wanted the kids on the first family row. So the problem is all the boys want to bring their girlfriends. Like, bruh, it's already 6 kids. We ain't got room for these chicks to be coming up in here. Like, who are they? What's going on? Like, the girlfriends, like, okay, whatever. So they were trying to make room for everybody. The deputies, and so I'm from the South, y'all. We got Southern hospitality all day long. Ain't none of that going on in New York. Okay. I was even told to leave mine at home in Atlanta. So the deputies are like fussing and New York accent, which sounds so funny to me, as they're trying to get everybody to move. So they're like, look, we're going to take people out the courtroom if you don't move. All his kids are sitting down. Like they were, and everybody was sitting there like nobody wanted to move. It's like, get up. Nobody other family wanted to move, but clearly the kids need to sit down. So that was like a whole 5-minute ordeal was getting the kids seated. So all of the kids finally get seated and their girlfriend, with the guys' girlfriends, and then the girls. And then behind were the moms. So like Cheryl was sitting behind the twins. Misa came in and she was sitting on this end. I think Janice ended up being on the end of the kids' row. And then behind was like a host of other family and cousins. I guess I don't know them. And you could tell some of the men were like music exec people. That's the vibe they were giving. But I don't know. Look, I don't know who people were. So that's how they set up. And after those 3 rows, that's when they started the public rows. And so I was on that 3rd public row. The right side was all press on that side. And then they had the press that can type and actually have their devices in. They were kind of in a jury box. The attorneys were deep, of course, because right, it's like the 6-pack. It's all the women on the government side. So they all stood up, and the victim advocate, all of their assistants and stuff. And then Diddy has his strong legal team. So it was deep. It was deep. The courtroom was definitely packed. They had a row actually behind me. So I was in the last row in a pew, and the row behind me were actually chairs set up. And Gina, the Asian ex-girlfriend, I don't know whatever she got classified as, but y'all know who I'm talking about. She was sitting behind me, and like some other guys that were, I don't know if they were related to him, but you could tell they were friends or family. They were sitting behind, and then a lot more family were in the overflow room. So they dedicated 3 rows for the family. That was it in the courtroom. Anybody else, they were in the overflow room. So that whole setup. So court was supposed to start at 10, but we really didn't start till like 10:30 because it was all this rigmarole with who's gonna sit where and moving. And then it was a thing of like who was gonna speak. So I guess at one point they were saying like all of the defense attorneys at one point just started buzzing around like something had happened. It was like, what's wrong? They were looking at the back of the courtroom. They were moving around. They were whispering. And I think it was like somebody was going to speak on behalf of Quincy, some girl. I don't know. They were trying to figure out who was going to speak or whatever. I was trying to like ear hustle, but it was something about the kids and who was going to speak. But it was just all of this buzzing as if something was wrong, but I guess they figured it out. So anyway, the judge came out Don't know what time it is, okay, y'all, because Fit had on a Fitbit. I mean, a Samsung watch, a digital watch. So they took all electronics, cell phones, digital, my watch. So I didn't know what time anything was happening. So I'm gonna think it's probably like around 10:40-ish. The court starts, the judge comes in, and he comes out, everybody stands up and introduces themselves as far as who's the attorneys on each side. And then the judge is the first person that starts the day. So he spoke for a long time. And by the time he got through speaking, we really could have just went to the sentence, because you already, if you had, I don't even know, because I'm an attorney. So, right, I have legal sense. So I can't never take it off. So I don't know if, but I'm not going to say that, because I could tell those men that were on the back row of his family row that gave me the whole exec vibe, they had the same feeling at the same time I did, that it's about to be some time. They literally had that whole sit back, look at each other like, he about to go to jail. You could just tell. I'm telling you, the judge came in hot. You knew like it was about to go down. Let me back up a little bit. So before court started, I could tell that Brian Steele and Westmoreland were speaking, because they were kind of like huddled up. But I'm from Atlanta, so I've seen Brian Steele in court several times. So he was kind of doing his, I could just tell he was kind of nervous or whatever. I could tell he had this little nervous rock, little side to side thing he was doing. And he was pacing a little bit, but like, it's like pace in place kind of thing. So I could tell he was nervous. So I knew that he had a big speech to make. I could tell Miss Westmoreland had a big speech to make because of the way they were acting before court started. Okay, so then Diddy comes in, and he had gotten permission to dress out. So he comes in, tan sweater, white button-down shirt. His hair is salt and pepper. So when I first saw him, I gasped. I ain't make no noise, because these deputies were like, not playing. Make a noise, make a peep, you getting gasped. So just silently, I'm like, but it wasn't because he looked bad. He just looked older, right? Because we haven't seen him. We've been seeing drawings and sketches and pictures from when he first got locked up, but just from when he first got locked up to now, it's like I was looking at somebody that was coming in to play somebody's granddaddy on TV, because he had on like the brown sweater, the Huxtable sweater, the button down, and he got this gray hair. It just looked like he was playing a part of an older man. It just didn't look like him, because I haven't seen him look like this. So it was like a time warp, if that makes any sense. But he didn't look bad. Like he came in hopeful. I'll say that. Came in hopeful. He looked good, but he just looked older. Jay Witt podcast, shout out for the $5 super chat. Says we run into Utah for Tyler Robinson trial. See, I gotta get caught up. Oh, you got me going to Utah. Ain't no black folks in Utah, but the Jazz and the Army. I gotta look up that case. And see. Nene says the $5 super chat. Shout out, Nene. Thank you so much. Says he looks super old, more like 75 versus 55. Yeah. Like I say, he looked like he came in looking like he was about to play Bill Cosby on something. So it was shocking to see him look like this, but this is what jail and prison does to you. I had a client that I was representing one time, and my first time meeting him, he was like a month home from 16-year bid in prison, and he got rearrested. And he was 36 and he looked 70 something. Like I walked in, I was like, I'm like, you're da-da-da-da. And I'm looking at the age. I'm like, bro, he had all gray hair. I mean, his face just looked worn and old. I mean, it just wears you down. It wears you down. The mental, just what you're doing in prison, it's a hard life. So I was, but it still was shocking to see him like that. It still looked nice. And he came in hopeful. He left pissed off. Okay. You definitely tell he left pissed off. Like he wanted to kick all that shit over. That's the vibe I got when he left. I want to kick all this shit over. Fuck everything I done said. I don't want to kick all this shit over. He was mad. He was pissed. Yeah, then he says the stress of it all. Yep. Cedar Elm says he has been coloring his hair. Yeah, he definitely has. So you don't get no Beijing in custody. Although I expected it to be a lot more gray than it was. So I was surprised to see as much black in it. So I was almost like, did you get some Beijing? Did somebody sneak something in? So you did. I didn't know they let him like dip it in real quick, because it wasn't as much salt and pepper. But it was, he didn't look bad. So like I say, he came in looking hopeful. So that was good to see. I told y'all we long stroking this thing tonight. Page 2. Let me see. let's see where we at. Yeah, it was 10 people stood up. So they say who's representing Diddy's team? 10 people stood up. Wow, like 10 people. That was amazing to see. Like I got a whole force up in here trying to save my life. 10 people. All right. So okay, so the timeline of things. So the judge is out. So what he does first is start talking about what he has considered. And he starts talking about the pre-sentencing report. This is something no one has access to. It's a sealed document, and it was filed, I believe, August 28th. So what happened after he got convicted on July 2nd? The probation office starts this pre-sentence, they start this sentencing, what do I want to call it? Like investigation. So they look at your criminal history, they look and see like where you were working at, all this stuff you done. They basically do like a deep dive of you and put together a packet to make a recommendation to the court about where he should sentence you. So they give their recommendation to the court. So the government gives their recommendation, the defense gives their recommendation, and probation gives theirs in what's called a pre-sentencing report. So the judge talks about this. So he sits down, he says, I reviewed everything. I reviewed all hundreds of pages. The September 22nd submission from Diddy, the letter 924, the supplements, the video just filed yesterday, the letter from Steele. He's talking about everything that he's reviewed to get to this decision. He said, I've read everything. I greatly appreciated the letters and I've read them closely. I reviewed the pre-sentencing report. It was issued on August 28th and then it was revised on September 18th because I guess once it came out, maybe a side or something had objections to it, or maybe they presented some other things to be added. But anyway, it was amended on September 18th. Also, and this is not filed online as of yet, so I can't see it, but there was a forfeiture that was consented to by Diddy. So the state or the government asked for some of his, I don't know, money or property to be forfeited from this case. I don't know what exactly, but they consented, meaning they worked out an agreement of what should be forfeited. And so that was also signed, and I think that was signed like today as well. He reviewed the course evaluation, meaning that MDC had just completed today an evaluation of the course that Diddy had implemented, the free game course, because that free game course was like, that was what he was going to use to get out of jail. So if you all remember the T.I. case in Atlanta, it was all about this community service and how T.I. could be a benefit and a use to the community more so than in jail. It was the same strategy here for Diddy. He's developed this free game course. He can teach this course to other inmates. He can make an impact. So let him out so that he can do this. That was the game plan. So the MDC evaluated the course and they gave a report to the court, and that came out today. So I looked at all of that. And he also made a note that Mia no longer wanted to testify. This was a big deal, okay, because it was already a big deal that she wanted to testify at the hearing because she wasn't a named victim. If you all recall, there were two victims in this case, right? There was Jane and then Jane Doe, and then there was Kathy. And Mia was an employee of Diddy's, but she also testified to receiving the same type of violence and torture and all of this stuff, right? Well, the government filed a letter. Let me just make up a day, right? Wednesday. Okay, let's say Wednesday. As saying that she wanted to testify. Well, Diddy's team came back and wrote a letter that tore her apart. They call her a liar, said she got on the stand with a fake name, a fake voice, a fake story. The jury found her to be a liar, that they just lit into her in their letter. I believe it was written by Steele, but I'll pull it up. We'll talk about it. And the government responded and said that letter was, one, ridiculous because it wasn't fair, in that it was against court decorum. The judge did tell them today that he did not appreciate their tone in the letter and that he did not want to see it again. And basically, it scared her away to testify. So Mia did not testify today. She gave a letter to be read in the court, but she did not testify. And it was the government says that it was due in part to Diddy's letter, and they wanted that to be on the record, and they wanted the judge to take that into consideration as a part of the sentencing. Like, they were pissed about this, that Mia did not come in or show up. So, you know, they basically are trying to show, like, even after you're here at sentencing and you're still using your power to control the victims, because you knew that she would read that letter. I mean, the letter is filed on the federal website, right? So we can pull it off. We can all look at it. So the fact that they filed that letter, they knew that she would see it, and it scared her off. Matter of fact, I'm gonna pull it up. I'm in the federal site now, so let me pull it up. I think this is it. I'm gonna sound back in. So it was when I read the letter, I was like, dang, I didn't call her out. And so it just, just showed it showed the court and the government, like, you're still using your power to mess with these victims. While I'm pulling that up. Yeah, the judge said the tone of the letter was inappropriate and it shouldn't happen again. All right. So then the defense, because the judge is kind of trying to see how long this is going to be. So they're asking, like, who's going to speak here? Who's going to speak over here? So that's what he did. He asked the government, do you all have anybody to speak? And they said, well, Judge, we did, but they didn't scare her off. And then so basically just the prosecutor spoke on their side, and then the defense started talking about who they had to speak. And they said at first it was just going to be 2 or 3 of the children to speak, but they actually all spoke. They talked about the Reverend Gary Johnson, that's the guy from King Clergy, and they talked about Giovanni from the reentry program. And then I told you all that they had asked for 4 attorneys to speak. 4 attorneys did speak, and then Agnifilo spoke at the end. So it actually ended up being 5. So that made it a very long day. And Diddy was the last person to speak. Last, meaning after the defense rested, the government came back and did a rebuttal, and then we took a break, and then Diddy spoke. So he literally had the last word, which was, it just, he had the last word. So he had the last thing to say to the judge for him to make his decision. So it was interesting to see. Let's see. Now, they also said that the doctor, so they had Diddy evaluated, psychologists evaluated him. They had those doctors in the building, but they weren't in the courtroom. But if the judge wanted to hear from them, and then the government jumps up like, hold on now. Rule 32 kind of prohibits, it provides limitations for who all can speak. So we don't think they should be letting all these people speak. And then the judge like, but wait a minute, don't I have discretion? Can I make the decision? I control that, right? Okay. So if I'm telling y'all, like, the judge didn't play the radio with nobody. Like, he kept the government in check. He kept the defense team in check. He really kept everybody, everybody in check. Like, this is my courtroom. You gonna tell me what to do? Like, he held everybody to the law. So he was really fair. So the government, they're still going through their presentation. Let me see. Oh, this is when they're arguing about who should be able to speak and who should be able to be kept out. And they're basically like, so funny that the defense objects to Mia speaking, but yet they want to bring all these other people up to speak on their part. So, they were really pissed that Mia didn't show up. So you could tell they whined about that for a few minutes this morning with the court. So the judge allowed this morning, he was like, the children can speak. I'll make my decision as I go along with the pastor and stuff, but he let everybody talk. And I guess he just kind of was like, at this point, let's go ahead and let everybody say what they're going to say, because I know what I'm going to do. Let me give you all a chance to, get it out. That's the vibe I got. For Always Forever for Life says keeping control of his courtroom as he should. Yeah, he did. Sater Elm says throughout this trial, the judge has been on top and just spectacular. Yeah, that's what I got today. So I didn't watch every, this is my first time being in the courtroom, but I could tell, like, he has been keeping it straight. My dude, how you doing? She says, good evening, Chat and Fit ATL. I was waiting for you to come. I'm glad to see you. Miss you all. Yes, my dude. She has a channel on TikTok, so y'all go check her out. Yes, good to see you. Wait a minute. The big boy. Okay. Michelle says the big black hole in protecting whitenesses witnesses. I guess there's nothing in place to keep the defendant's friends from harassing, threatening the witnesses. I had to move twice, change my number so I didn't testify, not say. Yeah, and that can be it too. And that's why the government was so upset about the comments that they made in that letter, because they knew that it would discourage well, the government believes that Diddy's team knew that it would discourage her from testifying. I'm gonna see if I can pull that up so that I could just share with you all like what they were saying about her. It was kind of mean. But I didn't see the trial. So like, was she discredited at the trial? Was her testimony I don't know. Maybe it was fair. Maybe they were calling it like it is to how they feel. And it was a lot of that going on today, like, different of opinions on what came out in court with testimony. But I will say, I feel like the defense did a little too much sometimes on still trying to like, they came in still trying to argue that Cassie's not a victim. It's like, bro, look here, we're here for sentencing. Okay, fall on the sword, admit to everything. I forgot I had that letter printed out. Fall on the sword, admit to everything, and just let's stay focused and show me mitigation. But you still coming in here saying what it is and what it ain't and all that kind of stuff. So, here's the letter. All right, so the government wrote this letter. I mean, the defense wrote this letter on October 1st, and it was actually written by Agnifilo. And he says, we write in opposition to the government's September 30th, 2025 letter motion requesting that a person with the false name Mia speak at Mr. Combs' sentencing for charges of which she is not a statutory victim. So the law has this case law, statutory. Whenever you hear the word statutory, it means what the case law or what the law says defines as something. So they're saying the law defines what a victim is, and she doesn't fall in it. They're saying like she wasn't victim 1 or 2. She wasn't Cassie or Jane, so she's not in this case. She wasn't ever a part of prostitution, sex trafficking, so she's not a part of it. So she shouldn't be allowed to speak. And so they go on to say, over defense objection, Mia was permitted to come into a courtroom, assume a fake identity, complete with a made-up voice and demeanor, and lie about a defendant in a criminal case, all behind the shroud of anonymity. That's harsh. That's harsh. They say she lied that she had sexual contact with Sean Combs without her consent. She lied that she was a victim. Virtually everything that came out of her mouth was a lie. Oh, if I had my buzzer, damn, like they was hitting it. So that's first paragraph. So they go on to say, simply, she is not a victim of anything. She had adult consensual sexual contact with Sean Combs on a handful of occasions, and as her many writings show, held him in the highest regard for years afterwards. So they just kept tearing her apart. So the judge was not pleased with the tone in this letter. And after the letter came out, she bagged out and didn't want to come to court to testify. So that did not bode well with the government or the judge today. So I just wanted to share that little bit with you all. So let me see. Okay, so then now the judge starts going through this pre-sentencing report. And once again, we won't ever get a copy of it. That's stuff that's filed under seal. So he says there were a number of objections to the pre-sentencing report. So basically, he just goes over this report and speaks about the issues that each side had with things in the report. And then he speaks as to how he's going to consider those things in the report. And at the end of this whole analysis, he gives us the leveling. And at that moment, that's when I knew it was a wrap. Well, actually, a little bit before, and I actually wrote it on my paper. Okay. So he talks about the first thing that he talks about in this pre-sentencing report, and something that greatly increased the leveling, was the acquitted conduct. So being able to, that's the paper. Okay, so being able to consider acquitted conduct. So, he was charged with RICO, he was charged with sex trafficking, he was acquitted of it. However, in trying to prove those things, testimony came out from certain witnesses that he did things, beat them, coerce them, force them, threaten them to participate in acts, like bad things came out. So even though you weren't found guilty of these things, the judge says that the federal sentencing guidelines requires him to consider relevant conduct. And so as long as it's relevant to, as long as it's also still relevant in whole or in part to the things that you were convicted of. So, because the transport crossed state lines, the beating of Cassie on the video, the forcing them, drugging them, while some of that stuff was related to the RICO and sex trafficking, it's also related to the prostitution the Mann Act that you were convicted of. And therefore, I find it relevant through by preponderance of the evidence. So I'm going to consider it. So the fact that he considered those things, that made Diddy's leveling go up. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, we're creeping up there. Now I know we're not at 14 anymore, but I'm not sure how many points that did it, but I just know we're stepping up a little bit. So when you step up the guidelines, the higher the number, the higher the range of time. So you got to think about it, right? If you get leveled, Diddy ended up being level 27. His attorneys wanted a level 14. Okay, you see how big a gap that is? There's no way the judge can get you to out the door at a level 27. So as he's going through this pre-sentencing report and he's talking about what he's going to consider, this doggone phone. I'm sorry, y'all, this gimbal. What he's going to consider and what he is going to the things that he's going to consider that's going to increase the level. I know in my mind as an attorney, we're inching on up that line. So that is the feeling I was getting as I was listening to this part. And this is the first part of the presentation. So he came in the room, everybody introduced themselves, they said who's gonna speak. The government got to talk their little shit about Mia, and then the judge went right into it. So if we're talking about maybe 15 minutes into the hearing, the judge is going through this pre-sentencing report telling us the things that are aggravating his sentencing level. So it got grim early. Y'all, I have no clue. So why this gimbal is losing his mind over here. So bear with me. Okay. Oh, now I just like cut all the way off. Okay. So y'all, I'm so sorry. Y'all know if I was at home, we don't have these problems. I don't do this unprofessional shit. All right. So we struggle streaming, but forgive me. We in the hotel room in New York. So we're gonna make it work. Cause I'm over here like, get it together. All right. Let's see. What did he hit on next? Okay. Another thing the judge talked about is that the sentencing guidelines require him to look at the whole character of the person. I spoke about that, right? And so he's like, this acquitted conduct may be considered. And so it basically increased 11. So after that there was a criminal sexual abuse guideline, something they were asking to be added about Cassie being a vulnerable victim. He didn't add that leveling. Or did he? Let me see. Very little. Or did he? He might have added that one. I'm gonna take that back. I'm sorry. We're looking at my notes. So he was talking about that the court just really didn't have a lot of guidance on what constituted fear of bodily harm to know if basically he would consider that vulnerable victim part. But some of these things he said that, and this is another reason that he already had his decision made, because he would say, wow, I don't really know on this one. While I'm not going to add it, it didn't change the sentencing. Or while I am going to add it, it didn't change the sentence. And how could you know something didn't change it unless you already got the sentence? And this literally was 10:45, 11 o'clock. Okay, so this is another thing that he added that increased. So he found that Diddy acted with coercion and force towards the victims. And so that was another increase in the leveling. He said Diddy made threats to release sex tapes in order to force them into doing freak offs. So while it all the force might not have been physical, while some of it was because we saw the tape. Because he said basically the hotel, you basically had an escort inside the hotel waiting to have sex with Cassie while you were dragging her down the hallway, beating her. So that goes into that whole force of coercion. So he added a leveling for that. So once again, in my head, I'm like, we're getting further and further from this level 14 that was going to get you straight probation. So I'm kind of feeling like, I don't know. The judge also said Cassie and Jane testified credibly during the trial. When he said this, mind you, I'm on third, fourth page, so this is early in the morning. So he said that they were credible. That means he took everything that Cassie said about Diddy and everything Jane said about Diddy, and in his mind, those were things that he used to come up with his sentence and how he was going to punish him. He considered all of that. Let's see. Cedar Elm says, I'm gonna read some of these comments. I want to know if it just went from year 2 and kept going up and then got to 4 years. Well, it's not that simple. So it really just needs, right. Somebody said, Nene said the judge needs counseling now. Right. It's Cedar is really more so getting it's just so it's just a lot to it. So it's not that simple. And so basically you get the sentencing guidelines and you get the leveling. And so he ended up leveling him level 27, which was 60 to 72 months. And I'm gonna get to that point. So I'm gonna come back to your question. Let me go through and I want to build up to that and answer that. So go back to, he says, Cassie and Jane testified credibly during trial. So he's taking everything they said, he's using it. So he said, I have to consider, is this evidence enough to show the force and coercion? Basically, he said it was. So that was another increase. Now the obstruction. So the government wanted him to add extra leveling for Diddy obstructing justice by the legal pad situation. If y'all remember that when he kind of had been locked up maybe like a month or so, a couple of months, and they were going to court for hearings, and there was this whole thing about Diddy having legal pads in the room that had legal on it, but it didn't have legal stuff in it, and he was trying to hide stuff, and maybe that he was still threatening victims and witnesses and all of that stuff. So they were trying to use that to add another level. Judge to say, you know what, you all didn't make enough of a record to do that. So you had the opportunity to go further in the investigation. You had an opportunity to have a hearing to determine what actually happened with the notepads. He said it could have been Diddy's attorneys could have done this. We don't know. So I'm not going to find by preponderance that there's enough evidence there for me to give him this level. So that he didn't increase it for the obstruction. He says basically a full record was never made. Now, oh yeah, the vulnerable victim. What did he say on this one? The judge overruled the request. That's right. He did not consider the vulnerable victim, and it was due to the age. And I guess because Cassie was 19 when she first started dealing with him, but he didn't consider that. However, he said I would still reach the same sentence if it was applied or not. Once again, it's like 11:30. This man already knew what he was coming here to do. Let me see. Where do we go next? Okay. Now, the Diddy objected to Cassie and Jane being victims. The judge, he ain't spent too much time on that. He said, I overruled that. And so that's the type of thing, like we're here at sentencing and you're still objecting to the people that like you got convicted of. You're still trying to say, no, judge, they're not victims. Don't consider them victims. I didn't think that was a good play because you can't then in the next breath say you're remorseful if you're still telling me just a minute ago not to consider them victim, and I say no. All right, then shit. Fuck, I'm sorry. Okay, judge, I'm sorry. I ain't got nothing. I got a couple kids. Like it was just like you flipping on me. Like either you're remorseful 100% or you're not. And so that's what the government kept kind of playing on. They were just like, no, I mean, you're still fighting against basically last week at the hearing, you were saying what you did wasn't prostitution and trying to change the definition of prostitution that you asked us to apply at trial. Now you want to come back and say, judge, I was wrong. Let me change it. Prostitution really is this, and I didn't do it. And then you are coming here today saying, judge, don't find Cassie to be a victim. He's like, wait a minute now. Are you going to take responsibility or not? And so that's why he denied Diddy's request for a downward deviation for that remorsefulness, because he's like, you haven't shown it. And Diddy's attorneys argue that, he had to go to trial. Judge, he never got an offer to take a plea on the Mann Act, and they're correct on that. They're absolutely correct on that. However, it's one thing to go to trial, because you can go to trial and still accept responsibility for what you did. Tell you how. The case I had with DA Love, who was on the YSL trial, it was a rape case, but my client was also charged with simple battery. That we did. We pushed the victim down in the bathroom and she fell into the tub when they were having an argument. Rape never had anything to do with it. That wasn't involved in it. So this is not, the victim is telling the court it's not involved in it. Everybody's speaking that that's not what it is. And so in my closing, I tell the jury, we submit to you. We are guilty of simple battery. Convict us of that. But we are not guilty of everything else. So you absolutely can go to trial and accept responsibility for things that you want to accept responsibility for, and then deny the things that you don't. So it came a time where he could have accepted responsibility prior to this moment, is what I gathered from the courts, saying I don't see remorse, because the judge had said that over and over again, like the bond hearings and the times he was denying bond, he had made that comment several times. So that was a big deal there. And then now, this is the moment I knew that Diddy was going to go to jail, was when the judge said, so he's not going to give Diddy the downward deviation, right? We got past that part. Then he says, I'm going to count the escorts as victims. When he said that, because I knew how many points that was going to add, I said, oh shit. Because doing that, I think that raised it like 8 points, 6 to 8 points. So I knew that now we were at jail time, significant jail time, because now I know you're leveling. If you started at 14, he's increased it 2 points for your coercion, and another 2 points for this. So now we'll be at 18, and then he bam hits you with the big jump to 24. I sat back in my seat and was like, he going to jail. There's no way he can get around it. So I kind of knew at that point. And I'm sure his attorneys knew as well that it was looking like it might be some jail time. Because the judge said the escorts were transported as well to participate in sex for money. So you transported them to basically participate in prostitution. So they're victims as well as Cassie and Jane. So instead of 2 victims, you got 8, and that increased his level, and that kind of pretty much took it up. There was also a coercion enhancement that was applied, and I didn't even, because I hadn't read the government's recent one. I don't believe the coercion enhancement was in the original one right after trial, but they added that. So that was another couple points. At this time, Brian still whispers something to Diddy. He's whispering him the really whole time. And I'll say this, that I did notice that if I felt like there was a connection between Diddy and any of his attorneys, him and Brian seemed like this. They seemed like they really vibed. He seemed like he really trusts him. As soon as he came into the courtroom, he hugged everybody, but when he seen Brian, it was like, man, it was just like a different type of embrace. So I could tell they connected. Brian sat next to him pretty much the entire time. If it flipped, it was Westmoreland in the middle, but they whispered together the whole time. It just seemed like Diddy leaned to him. He trusted him. That was like the person that was that was in Diddy's ear the entire time was Brian Steele. You could tell they really, really made a connection on this case. Okay. Oh, okay. Yep. So that's that. So basically the judge ends all of this talking about that the pre-sentencing report supports the enhancements, and he is adopting that. He talked about how the scheme is excessive, and basically the scheme being, set up the hotel nights, the freak offs. The judge just found like all of that shit was too much for him. He was like, that was massive, excessive. He just was like, I ain't never seen no shit like this. Like, this was wild to the judge. You could tell that he considered just this everything too much. He said basically they added an enhancement for this coercion because the Diddy and at least 3 others helped do the freak offs in the hotel stays. Or what did they call them with Jane? So they were freak offs with Cassie, and they were hotel nights with Jane. And so he said Diddy, KK, and 2 other people. I didn't get the other 2 names. That those people helped organize the freak offs and organize the hotel nights and organize transportation. So that qualified for that coercion enhancement to be added because it was Diddy plus 3 others that worked together to commit this man act. So they were just adding shit to it really was stacking up, stacking up. I was like, man. All right, so the restitution, he said that was moot. I mean, Cassie got $20 million in a lawsuit. She ain't getting no more money. Diddy objected to Cassie's statement because it was not included in the PSR. So her most recent statement wasn't included in that pre-sentencing report. So Diddy didn't want it included in what the judge was considering. But once again, it's like you're once again still trying to discredit the victims and control and keep out. And, instead of just letting the shit come in and just do your part. We already know what they're going to say. They already testified and he already said he found them credible. So to see you still fighting for that kind of thing is like, come on, we're past that point. Diddy asked for I told you all he asked for the whole remorse deviation down, and the judge said no because he didn't see any remorse from him. And just because you're saying sorry now that we're at the point that you're about to get sentenced, that's not enough because every time that you had the chance to come into court, you fought against the factual allegations. You said you didn't do this. You made this whole, the judge referenced the Instagram video. You made this video and you apologized and you said you were sorry and all of that stuff, and then you kept doing it. That was another big point. Your house got raided. You hired New York defense attorneys in federal court. You're spending millions of dollars defending and preparing to defend a case, and your ass still having freak offs and hotel nights. Like, ain't no remorse. No remorse. You get in trouble, your house gets raided, and you immediately stop. Then I can see remorse. And I tell my clients that all the time. They're like, man, they keep on holding my past against me. They keep on. I'm like, bruh, it can't be your past until you stop. So like you just did that shit last week. Like you can't move beyond something until you stop. Diddy never stopped. The judge, when he sentenced him at the end, he's like, you only stopped because you got caught. So that was something that was counted against him. Okay, so that was that. Then they talk about the forfeiture that Diddy consented to. Garrigo says he went over the order and Diddy signed it. And this was the forfeiture. Let's see what's next. Okay, so then judge said I'm trying to think because I wrote something. Oh, the levels. Has he announced the leveling yet? I'm trying to, because it's on the page right here, y'all. This is like my 5th page of notes, and I put Diddy going to prison. Because I'm telling you, this is what the vibe was and what I was getting from the judge going through this pre-sentencing report. Okay. So the judge has said he's adopting the pre-sentencing report. That's what it was. He said he's adopting that. And then the attorneys jump up and start making their last little objections over the pre-sentencing report. The defense is arguing once again that if the acquittal conduct stays in the pre-sentencing report, that it'll hurt Combs if he gets jail time because, and I didn't know this until, I hear this said in court now, but in state court, like let's say your indictment says, I'm trying to think, okay, let's say you're arrested and charged with armed robbery. And you go through your case and you're charged with armed robbery, aggravated assault, And let's say it gets reduced down and the DA amends it and you plead to robbery, but your indictment is sent to the prison. They are going to review your entire indictment. And while you pled to a lesser included offense, they're still going to see what you were charged with. And so when it comes to a range of how much time of your sentence you're going to have to do, if there are allegations in your indictment that allow it to be aggravated, even though you didn't plead to that charge, we're gonna put you at the high end of the sentencing range. So that basically is what happened in this case. The judge basically said, sorry, y'all, the gamble is tripping. So the judge basically said that, what his attorneys were arguing, trying to keep it out, because they're like, if he got to go down the road, he wasn't convicted of this stuff. We don't want this applied to him because that's going to, determine how much time he's going to have to spend in, what programs he can do when he can get out. And the judge was basically like, yeah, we can address that later if it's an issue, but it never came back up again. They didn't address it later. And that is when I wrote Diddy going to prison, because I knew when the judge counted up all the aggravations, I didn't know what exact number we were at, but I knew that we were over like 22, 24, and you're not getting a level 24 is not getting you to probation out the door. You're about to do some time. So if I could have got to my phone, literally, we took a break at like 11 or something like that. We took a break, I think 11:15 or something. I wanted to ask the deputy for my phone. It's like, I could get my phone and call somebody and tell them, did he go into prison? I could have put that news out to y'all at 11:30 because it was just evident. So the judge ended that conversation about the whole pre-sentencing report. And he says, I'm adopting it. And I am leveling Diddy at a 27. Oh my God. When he said 27, my heart dropped. I was like, he's definitely going to prison. And he said level 27, the range was 70 to 87 months. Now, that is just where he was starting. So he leveled him at a 27. That range was 70 to 87 months. So I had already heard the page before I wrote prison. When I heard that, I'm like, he's definitely going to prison. And we took a break. And I was like, not good. And like anybody that kind of was in there objectively listening, probably they kind of had that look like, oh, definitely he not going home today. But if you were in there just like, man, this some BS, did he come home? You might have missed it. Or if like you were a family member, because you're gonna hold out all hope, and that's what you should do, because it is at the end of the day, God has the final say. You never know what can happen. I literally was in court in Fulton County this past Wednesday. I had a motion argument, but most times you go to court, there's other stuff on the calendar. So there was a plea. There was a young man there who had shot multiple people. Would come to find out he was having like a mental episode and went on this. He thought people were chasing him or whatever. And he just went on this pow, pow, pow spree and hit like 3 people, random people he didn't know. The state was asking originally for 35 years in prison. And the defense attorney said, Judge, I'm asking for probation. And judge said, ain't no way in. She wanted to say hell, but she said, isn't there a way I'm giving your client probation off of what I heard? And when I tell you at the end of the presentation from the defense attorney, that child walked out of there with probation. And also the victim's family testified that they didn't want him to go to prison because he had a mental health issue. He was back on track, getting it straight. And so the judge said, I can't believe I'm saying this because I have never in my life heard a victim's family ask for this, but I am going to give him a second chance. And she gave him probation. So you really never know where it can go. But in this case, I just knew that you're going to have to take a hard leap to get from 70 months to home today. Okay. So I was pretty confident at that point that he was going to prison. All right. So the judge at the end of this, he says, you repeated the crimes over the course of 15 years. There's abuse, exploitation. The law requires the court to consider all of this. So the judge is saying this is like 11:30. And so he's over and over again explaining why he has to consider all of the evidence. So that's just, just been a defense attorney for 20 years. The writing was kind of on the wall there. And he just used every opportunity he could to explain why the end result was going to be the end result. Cedar M says, Fit, you are so intelligent and articulate. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I don't know it all, but I do appreciate that. Cedar says, Fit, how you do this job. I'm amazed by the work you do. I'm walking in my purpose. Okay. I've been wanting to be an attorney since I was 4 years old. I really feel like that's what God put me here to do. So You gotta ask him. Cause I don't know how. Cause sometimes y'all get on my nerves. Sometimes it's a lot. But I love it. So yeah, Cedar says the judge was very thorough. Wendy says, thank you for this breakdown. Thank you for being here, Wendy. Days of Our Lives says, I just think this judge is smart. He knew, yeah, he knew. The judge was really, he just, like I said, he broke it down and was explaining the entire way, you know, why the end result was going to be the end result. Days of Our Lives. So it seems the judge did this. Save your smart, the options, avail yourself of all the programs. Yeah, he can do that when he gets in there. But yeah, it definitely was evident that the judge was basically, just walking us down the line of like, this is how we got to where we're gonna be. He said real victims suffered real harm, and because of the defendants, they questioned their self-worth. He said, oh, I'm sorry. We off the judge. Okay, let me bad back so we can get some context. Okay, so after the whole leveling part, then the government went to their part. So let me draw a line there. So the judge says, I'm adopting the pre-sentencing report. I'm leveling Diddy to 27. It's a range of 70 to 87 months, and the fine range is 25,000 to 250,000. That's what he says, and he stops.